So Artisan Glass is a small new brand. No, small company, a big brand. We are doing reverse glass painting, as I already mentioned, and we are using it not only like art, but we're using in a design. And I love my company. Because of this, I'm a founder, and I love what we are doing. But now I would be very happy when the another ladies of this panel discussion introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine from Catalyst Brand Strategy. We specialize in marketing for wellness and healthcare brands, and breaking the glass ceiling is something that I think everyone can relate to some capacity, so I'm really looking forward to today's session.
Hello, my apologies for being late. I ran to the restroom when I saw the other one was still going. My name is Amanda Marino. I am the founder of Next Level Recovery Associates. It's a concierge company for substance use disorder, mental health, eating disorders, and really anything in mental health realm that needs discrete concierge services, complete privacy, and making sure that nothing gets out into the public, and we create customized care. Then I also have my brand Amanda Marino Speaks. I just did my first TEDx in September, and I never ever in a million years imagined that I would be here today or have done the things that I've done in the past few years. God has blessed me beyond. And I'm known as a disruptor, and I kind of take that as a compliment because my field, behavioral health, needed disrupting in America. So I'm blessed to be here. Thank you for being here to support us and show up.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Stefania Cimino, and I'm founder of LMI Executive, a strategic partner for companies who live extraordinary moments in their life, like a special growth moment, international expansion, or M&A, IPOs, or innovations in business model, markets, evolution, etc. I'm happy to be here today because in my life, in my career, I think I really broke a lot of glass ceilings. So I'm happy to share my experience in this section.
Thank you. So my name is Nisreen El Khodari. I am the VP and head of the strategic people partner in Nokia. So I believe all of us are familiar with Nokia, but we evolved too much that we are not doing any cell phones, we're doing networks. So we are enabling all the countries to ensure that they have the right infrastructure when it comes to the telecommunication sector. I'm happy to be part of this journey where we are transforming lives of people, helping societies to develop, and making sure that we are connecting the unconnected across the world. So it's really a pleasure for me to be here today. I have too many stories about the glass ceiling, so we have, I think, a good panel to start, Mariam.
Great, so let's go start. Thank you a lot. The first question to the Catherine. What are some practical ways we can break the glass ceiling as funders?
Yes, diving straight in. So I think when people think about the glass ceiling, we often don't know where to begin to combat such a topic, and it often starts from the culture of the company, and that includes psychological safety. And what you might not be aware of is for many companies, you're not actually allowed to discuss things like your pay because legally in your contract, you have to sign an NDA or elements of that which don't allow you to express further. However, as a founder, you can choose whether to include this in your contract and also whether to encourage your employees to discuss salary and whether they're happy with their compensation, benefits, and otherwise. And this is a really simple and effective way, especially for women, to raise their annual wages and the rest. So that's definitely one of the key elements I would suggest starting with early on. And yes.
All right. Great. I thank you, Catherine. Amanda, can you tell us about your career journey, the challenges you faced in your previous roles, and what inspired you to start your own company?
Okay, I worked in behavioral health for 15 years doing marketing and business development, and my last job, I was dying to get out of there because I was only as good as my last month of production. and we're dealing with human beings. And I didn't feel like that was right, because I'm not going to refer someone to a facility that I'm working for that isn't appropriate to make my quota. That just to me felt like, yes, there's a version of sales in that, but we're dealing with people with mental health, eating disorders, substance use disorder. You can't send them to an inappropriate place. So in my last 2 years in my last job, I was studying to become an interventionist, to become a recovery life coach, and doing all kinds of trainings, and also working for other companies like mine now. And I learned so many things that were so terrible, and how I was treated by people that own the companies, and I was left in dangerous situations, no clinical oversight, and I was like, I could do this so much better, and I'm going to. And so at the end of 2019, I left my company, my last corporate job, with a severance package, and I started my own company. And I realized really quickly that I couldn't do it alone, because all of the business comes at once, or there's kind of silence. And so I brought on many professionals all over the globe to help me, and I've been blessed to build an international brand in a very, very short time. And I come from nothing. I come from living on food stamps and government assistance as a single mom. I never imagined, like I said, I have so much gratitude that I get to serve and help people that are struggling. It is beyond my wildest dreams.
Great. Thank you. Stefania, which mindset and concrete actions can truly empower a woman to move beyond the glass ceiling?
Well, thank you, Miriam. In my opinion, breaking glass ceiling is not just the moment or never happens once. It's a process, it's an attitude, it's a daily activity which requires, first of all, a strategic and disciplined mindset from our side as women, and also the capability to make us being present in a room to become effective in what we are contributing on. And this can be done from my perspective, and also from my experience. First of all, strongly empower our awareness and our self-confidence in what we are, what we can contribute, what we can bring at the table. Many times we are waiting for other permissions, right? We are not so much brave to propose ourselves in roles or in jobs or whatever, in responsibilities. I think we need to don't ask permission. We need to propose ourselves to be the first line and strongly willing this. There is another aspect from my side which is very important, and is the strategic authenticity that we can bring at the table with our diversity. For many years, I personally lived the situation where I was the only diverse in the room, sitting together with 30, 40 top managers, men. And it was tough, very tough for me at the beginning. But I think that the really difference that I could bring to the company, to the table, the contribution became when I understood and realized that my diversity was my value. The big mistake that I could do is to copy-paste another model of leadership, because the extraordinary value of the women being is that men and women are fantastically diverse and bring huge values both. But if we miss part of those values at any table, we are missing part of the humanity value, right? And companies where this mix is guaranteed are for sure more strong, resilient, problem solvers, fast in reacting to the adversity of the market, etc. So this authenticity for me means remain diverse and bring our resilience, our emotional intelligence, our capability to problem solving and humanity, while the values, a tremendous value of man leadership can bring decision-making process, focus on results, fast reaction as well. So the mix is the huge value from my point of view. A last point, and I stop. I think it's very important also for us to develop a strong resilience. Mm-hmm. Being resilient is something that we need to live constantly in everything that we do. We start doing this when we birth, maybe. We stop doing when we died. This is a constant approach that we as women can have in ourselves, and it's a value that we can bring at the tables where we're seated.
I thank you, Stefania. I have a question for Nesrin. What grounded you during moments of doubt? Or what bold decision changed your trajectory for growth and breaking the ceiling?
So I will split it into two pieces, actually. So grounding myself, it's similar to what Stefania have said. I am working in a high-tech industry, and you will normally know that when you are in a high-tech industry, it's always disproportionate between the women and men in that environment. So many times I have been stepping into the room being the only woman, being the youngest, and I was always like really having, do I really need to prove myself? There is something that people are having doubt about me, and this is where I needed to do something differently. So I always grounded myself that I have my own values that I have been raised with. I have been a professional athlete. I went to the Olympics, which have been a lot of resilience in my career. Awesome. So thank you. So I learned resilience by living it actually in my professional career as an athlete, and I said that I will never let this actually impact me in terms of bias, and I want to make sure that I am grounding myself, that my values and how I bring things into the table. Now, when it comes to the bold decisions, I have done many in my career. So first, I started as a professional athlete for many years, and that was really a career for me. And then I decided to make a change, and this change was a bold one. And then another time where I was just a fresh mom with a 2-month baby, I decided, okay, let's take another leap. And I was leading Europe, Middle East, and Africa with a 2-month baby, different weekends, lots of working hours, and actually, of course, a life with a mom is always difficult. So that reminded me that nothing is impossible, that if you really just want something, you build for that for the future, you can always try to make sure that you are having a trajectory for your growth. You know the goal that you're going through. And I have been very proud that I have been like really an inspiration to many of the women that I have been working with from my background as an athlete, and where I showed to them resilience can make a difference to them and impacted their lives in making sure that don't get boundaries, don't get like really feeling that you really need to be proving yourself in an unbiased environment or like really an unbalanced gender environment, and you are stepping back or leaving away from this. Go ahead, go for it, ensure you are proving yourself. There is nothing better than success that makes your mark and makes your brand and makes your personal kind of branding into this environment. So this is like really the grounding, and the second part related to the bias management.
Great, thank you. I will tell you one story about the really glass industry. In March 21, I bought my first company. It was Schneider Glasswood, and it's a manufacturing of the glass. And the people said I'm crazy because this industry belongs only for the men. And people said to work in a glass industry is like a swimming pool full of the sharks. And I was in this time mom of 2 small children, and they asked me why I do this. And I said, I don't know, but I want to try it. And you see where we are today. Glasswood is one of the biggest glass company of the Switzerland. And last year, I started articles on glass. We are doing the painting on a glass. And people again said, you are crazy, what you are doing? You don't need to do this. And I said, I have a dream. And I want to find out if it's possible this dream to realize. Yes, we listened today that we should dream, but we should keep it real. But you know, the first you find it out, the first when the things happened. So it means, like I know the ladies already said, it's very important to have a dream, but it's very important to stay on the floor too. Yep. And yes, I think that we have everybody a lot of interesting stories, but we will be now happy to know if somebody wants to share his own story from the view.
Miriam,
Yes.
one thing actually you said which is very important. You stepped out of your comfort zone, and also like you, Amanda, you step out of your comfort zone. You take brave steps. And you just like really don't feel that you are really limited by what the surrounding is saying. And this is very important point in my point of view. Everyone asked you, challenged you, and you could really doubt yourself. But I think you really have been having the passion and persistence and resilience to make sure that you are really behind your goal. And this is, again, reminder that we just don't get set back with our limitations and the environment and the surrounding around us.
Yes, about this.
I just wanted to add one thing. The only difference between, I believe, all of us here on the stage and anyone else that has a dream, I shared this yesterday in my keynote, is that I'm scared a lot of times. But guess what? I try anyways. And failing sometimes is the biggest blessing, right? Because then I learn from it. I don't take failure as, it's not failure, it's a win. So there's anyone out here that has a dream that they want to do, it's available to you. You can be scared and do it anyways. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But what do you have to lose? My thing was, I might have to get a job. That was my worst case scenario. I'd have to get another job. Have not had to.
Yes, it's great. Thank you.
And adding to that as well, I think it's so important to remember that we're not alone. And so far, it seems that the glass ceiling continues to perpetuate because we're not necessarily always acting as a collective. And so if you're able to share your story, even if that's just with one person, to say, hey, I think I was kind of mistreated in this situation, or I don't think that person handled it so well. How can we kind of, find a different solution? That opens up a conversation to what's possible. So I strongly encourage everyone in this room to also do the same, where you're asking the questions and figuring out how can we collectively start to create change around what has previously been accepted.
Okay, so let's go to our next question. Stefania, how did your own experience in women's leadership allow you to transform your diversity into a decisive strategic asset?
Passing around the microphones. I'm fine.
Well, in my personal experience, as I said before, I've been for 25 years the only woman at the very big men tables. And at the beginning, I have to say, I was 25 years old, and I tried to somehow imitate the dominant management style. But at a certain moment, I realized that it was not mimicking that model, that I could bring my value as well, as something that we said before, no? So I tried to work in two directions from my experience. First of all was the competence. It's very true that we maybe are asked double competence than masculine audience, but it's still a huge value, a great opportunity for us. So what I did was to work strongly, preparing myself to manage the company, to manage the team, business-wise, HR-wise, market-wise, many aspects that at the beginning I was not prepared at all. So I started studying and preparing myself. This brought me two results which could talk for me. And second side, I worked a lot in my leadership. Because again, being a woman, I think that I can bring a natural leadership style, which can be different, good or better, I don't know. But I try to create my leadership style as a woman in that man environment. And I realized this in a specific one moment when we were negotiating in a very tough situation, something which was seemed to be a very difficult time in an international negotiation. And I was the person who had to lead this. And certainly the expectation that the audience and the counterpart had that I was going to be very tough, very direct, and very, I can say, focus-oriented to the target immediately. But indeed, I was simply putting in a listening mode, understanding instead of preparing the answer before listening, and take some time to reach the common part of the interest. And this was surprisingly changing the picture of that negotiation. I could be able to bring the result at home. And this was the moment when I realized and say, oh my God, that's what I have to bring at this table. That's my diversity in doing things differently, but because it's natural, it's a different nature. So again, remain what we are and bringing what we can bring is the essence of my personal experience, and I'm happy about the results, the success that I've realized in my own life. And even today, for some years that I'm working as advisor, I see many times in many tables, I'm board member for different countries, and I can see these dynamics, expectations and reactions and surprised approaches. Don't be afraid to bring this difference. It's a great value for the companies as well.
Thank you. The question for you, Nesrin. How has your leadership style evolved as you advanced? What part of your journey are you most proud of?
Yeah, so I believe at the beginning when you are always having your identity that is a little bit different to the overall, so you work hard to prove yourself. And then at a certain moment, I realized my leadership is not going to evolve if I'm really only a doer or a hardworking, focusing on the short term, proving myself. I said I really need to ensure that I'm taking my career steps gradually up, and so does my leadership. So what I did is that I evolved to make sure that I am more empathetic, I am more deep listening, and that made a big difference in me reflecting, being able to be a coach, a mentor to many people, and that also gave me a moment to ensure that I'm taking the time to give the inspiration towards the table that I am sitting in. So my leadership helped me a lot that when I walk into one place, I leave it better. So it's not, it collapsed after me leaving that. No, I leave it better than when I came in. Second is that how many people, and this is not on my resume, but how many people I impacted their lives with those, giving them space to talk, giving them space to grow, especially women. I can see that I'm managing a very big territory, starting from Greenland all the way to New Zealand and Australia to South Africa. So everything apart from Americas. And if you see that sometimes the culture collision can be very difficult to some people when they start to really working into multinationals. And I have proud moments when I saw some women were struggling sometimes, and I really managed to be really having even if a small impact on their mindset or how they can really make a difference and how they set the confidence to grow. And I feel more proud when I see that their career have been also really following that kind of advice, have been advancing too much. So this for me is really the proud moment. So I realized that the leadership that I can do is not about being focused to myself, but how I can bring better things towards the community that I am belonging to, the team that I am belonging to, as well as to the women, that I make them realize that your ceiling is what you put to yourself, is not what the company is putting to you. If you want to break it, it's your call. And actually, if you just need to make sure you're getting the confidence to be able to do that.
Great, thank you. The question for Catherine: which is your personal experience in breaking the glass ceiling?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, so the short version is I used to work in the entertainment industry, and I was there before Me Too and after Me Too, which meant that I got to see firsthand the impacts that women experienced in the film and entertainment industry. And, you know, I'd like to say that it's come a long way since those days, but it's still certainly a work in progress. Yes, and there is so much more I could expand on that, but the key sort of takeaway that I'd like everyone to maybe reflect on in terms of when you're building your own companies and thinking about the culture that you're encouraging, one of the things we have to consider is barriers to entry. So, you know, is there someone who would have been a perfect hire, but maybe they just couldn't afford to get a certain place, or they were silenced by someone else who spoke louder than them, even though they had the skill set and could have been a great person if they were sort of given that chance. So really, in your hiring practices, consider these elements. And also, if you're in, whether it be in the healthcare or wellness or whatever space you're in, if you have a service or offering, consider whether you could be doing a small portion of that pro bono, or you could offer a scholarship or a micro version of that that's given to someone who would really, really benefit from your services. Because I know so many of us are heart-led and impact-driven, and we do want to give back and give more without compromising on that value. So explore ways that you could be looking at developing a scholarship program or offering opportunities for people to have more access to what it is you're building and creating and sharing with the world.
I thank you. Amanda?
Amazing. I relate so much. And I'm glad the men that were talking in the back of the room left, because we're trying to talk about women breaking glass ceilings, and there's dudes having conversation in the back, which I think is not. I'm just going to say that.
So I have a question for you, Amanda.
Yes, ma'am.
How can what seems like the worst moment to start a business become the very reason a woman breaks her own glass ceiling?
Yes. So as I mentioned, thank you for that question, and thank you all for, I love your vibes. I opened my business. I left my corporate job in 2019, and then, you know, started my company with my partner March 1st, 2020. We all know what that date was. That was lockdown. So I was terrified, and I thought that it was going to, you know, ruin my business. And my mother, you know, she loves the news. I don't watch the news. So my mom's telling me everyone's losing their jobs, all these businesses are closing down. And like, I was killing it. Like, I was thriving, and I felt like almost a little bit of survivor's guilt. You know, like that, all these people are losing their jobs. I feel so terrible, but it's because all of my teachers and mentors were in their 60s, and I was under 40 at the time, and just, you know, so I put myself in the space of being a first responder. So I flew and traveled the entire time. I did interventions. I helped people that were struggling with really, really deep issues in very creative ways, not in the ways that I had my business plan set out, and not the ways that I was taught. Like, I had to go to people's doors and knock on them because their family could not come in person because they were high risk, and basically have their family on FaceTime on each phone with another professional with me, and help someone that was a severe alcoholic that could have fallen down her third floor apartment if she didn't get the help. So at the same time, I was able to, I didn't know where to go. I knew things like this, conferences. I built relationships in person. That's what I knew. I knew how to go to offices and do lunch and learns and like all these things and build in-person relationships. And I had nowhere to go except for online, okay? And so my partner and I would make networking groups online, and I started to really dive into LinkedIn, thank God, in the early days, where I could get a bunch of connections in a day. It's not like that anymore. They've definitely changed their ways. But if you started it when I did back in the day, you know, I was able to get ahead of the game. However, I was able to build an international brand in my first year, which I never would have been able to do if it weren't for the pandemic. I met a gentleman, I talk about him, his name is Theo, and he's from the Netherlands. And I saw him at a conference about 4 or 5 years ago, and he said to me, "You're Amanda Marino. I've been watching you since you started your company on LinkedIn, and it's so amazing to see what you've done." And I was like, it was a God moment. I was like, oh my God, Theo from the Netherlands knows who I am. And it was just like that. I have goosebumps when I say it. And I even just shared it with him again recently. I'm like, I just want you to know how much this impacted me. It was like such a moment of like divine intervention, like the reach that we can have. And I didn't even know that I was doing that. I didn't know that people knew who I was. And so I have been able, this year I've traveled to more countries and worked in more diversity than I've ever in my life. I have people on my team all around the world that specialize in, understanding their, different cultures and having the discrete services. So while it was a terrible time in my mind to have a business with this great, perfect business plan that was built, it ended up being a blessing because now I can navigate and pivot whatever comes my way. And I've made, like I said, I'm known as a disruptor in behavioral health. And that's such a compliment because that means that I'm helping make change. I'm helping make things better. I'm raising standards, and I'm grateful for that. So thank God for the timing of making my business in the pandemic. I started with $100. I wouldn't have been able to go to a conference or an event. I had $100 in my bank account, and I was able to, thank God for it. It just was such a blessing. And so, we have to learn to pivot in business. And I also am in a very male dominant business, and they don't scare me. I collaborate with them and I partner with them. And I bring them in, but if they try to act like they're above me, I don't even play that. I don't even take that on. I don't know who's next.
Great. I thank you a lot of.
Thanks, love.
So, we have here 5 beautiful ladies with many, many stories. Thank you for it.
Thank you for moderating.
I would like to ask someone have a question, or someone would like to ask us something.
I think my friend here, the orange guy, he wants to ask a question.
No problem to speak with the 5
I just put him on the spot.
So great, so let's go to have a coffee.
Coffee again? Oh my God. How many coffees do we need to drink?
We can have
Okay,
a tea.
super. So you finished in a super time. I'm
Yes, we are great.
awake. Guys, you sure there are no any questions?
Or ladies.
Ladies, yeah, guys. How do you say correctly in English to everyone? Like you say guys or ladies and gentlemen, the plural, so...
It just depends on the room.
So guys will work in this case or not?
No,
really?
guys would not work in this case because this is a women breaking the glass ceiling. So we want to say, does anyone in the room, or do any of the women in particular, that may have a question about how they could break a glass ceiling? That's what I think. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Amanda. No, I'm all the time, open to learn, great to learn. There is never enough. Never. And honestly, this is the last day, and I feel very, I look at the agenda and I feel so sorry because we are moving till the end, and it is full with such a great people. I didn't have so much time to speak with all of you, but I have learned a lot, and I'm being paid to listen what you're saying, and I believe it is super precious what you have said. So thank you so much, ladies.
You have a fabulous outfit on, I have to tell you. You're stunning, and see, I'm a woman's woman, so I love lifting beautiful, strong women. You have a vibe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Great round of applause for our beautiful lady. Thank you so much for this panel discussion.